De mare.
Hello, welcome back. Happy 2020. This is the Rhythm of the Revolution, a chat with Adriana Santoni. Did I say that correctly?
You did.
Yes. And we'll be talking about her band, her project, Plena Combativa. And we have Beto Torrens here. We all know Beto. By now, you might know Beto. And we're going to have an awesome talk about music and how it's constructed and your story, Adriana. And I will leave it to you all. I'm here for you in the back. And thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being here. I bless you.
Thank you guys for having me.
So bienvenida, hermana. This is going to be weird because I'm going to be speaking English to Adriana. I feel so weird about it, but it's good. It's for the betterment of the world. And plus, I don't have to translate again. That was rough. Right. So it's a real honor for me to introduce to you a wonderful talent, but more than talent, a wonderful warrior that I respect a lot. Her name is Adriana Santoni. She's the leader of an incredible group called Plena Combativa, which is an all-female group of dealing with plena music. For those of you out there, plena is a genre of music that comes from the griot tradition of storytelling, and it also has its roots on North Africa, on the North African drum called the bendir or the daf. So it's played on frame drums, and it is what we consider to be the newspaper of the people. So that is why we have that connection with the griot tradition of Africa. So Adriana, how did you come to start playing plena? How did this happen?
Yeah, that is a long story. So
yes, good.
I will do it. So about 12 years ago, I started going to parrandas in Puerto Rico. You know, for the rest of the people listening in, parrandas are like Christmas celebrations, musical celebrations, and they were usually gifts that musicians would give to people showing up at their houses and sharing that music. So over the years, panderos, which are the frame drums that plena music uses, were incorporated to those celebrations, parrandas. So exactly, there's one, and I have some over here as well. So I started going to those parrandas, and people wanted me to play guitar because, I don't know, something about women should play guitar, apparently, and not percussion because it's considered only for men, because stereotypically you have to be a certain way to play them. So I didn't want to play guitar, and I picked up the panderos, and it was the plastic set we call a parranda kit because they're not artisan made. And I started playing with that, the very common pattern that I heard other people playing, and my uncles noticed that I had an ability to do so. So they started, one of my uncles that plays cuatro, which is a Puerto Rican string instrument, showed me videos of plenazos callejeros, which are like plena concerts that experienced pleneros and pleneras would have over the island. And there, watching through YouTube, I learned, first of all, that it's not music that is reserved for Christmas, that it's played all year round. And second of all, that it was a very elaborate instrument that you could do a lot of patterns with. So I started to get very interested and started studying it through the computer. And then I had the opportunity to take workshops with Tito Matos, which is one of the well-known pleneros in Puerto Rico. I took 8 workshops with him, and I started to join the plena concerts on the streets and practice what I had learned. So that was my beginning with the instrument. I decided that I wanted to play the requinto, which is the plena drum that improvises out of the 3 of them. And I started to study that on the streets. When I'm at the University of Puerto Rico, there is a strike, 2017 Huelga de la Universidad de Puerto Rico, and I start to use my skills in the pandero to protest what's going on with the university, which is, their higher tuition cost and making it less accessible to the students of Puerto Rico. So that's the first time that I use plena in a protest scenario. And I learned how powerful it is to convey messages with and to move the energy of protesters and all that you can do with those instruments. So in the strike of the university, I am approached by a feminist leader in Puerto Rico, Chariana Ferrer of La Colectiva Feminista en Construcción. And she tells me that her organization is having plena workshops for women exclusively. And that is the first time that I go to a workshop where I see other women playing these instruments. So it was very important for me to be there. And that is where I met most of my band members and activist friends who now form part of Plena Combativa. So I started then composing my own songs related to the specific feminist and other protest topics that were going on in the island. So I don't know if that's if you have any other questions, but that's basically the whole line of my trajectory with the instrument.
That is beautiful, and it's really interesting because one of the accounts of, just so people know, yes, plena has its roots on North African drumming, the frame drumming, but some accounts tell about how it came from other sister islands, this music.
Yes.
And one of the stories talk about a married couple, man and a woman. Yes.
There it is.
It is. A story about this couple that came. I don't remember exactly who was St. Kitts or what.
Or Barbados, yeah. They say it's either St. Kitts or Barbados.
From Barbados, it makes sense. Barbados makes sense. They came over here and landed on the south of Puerto Rico, and they would start playing this music on the streets to make a living, to make ends meet. And it was a man with a guitar and the wife with a drum. So to me, that is really interesting because during the development of plena, the part of the women was pretty much relegated to singing or to other
dancing.
Dancing, singing,
Chorus,
supporting parts, chorus, and so forth. But the drumming has been for decades dominated by men, which is really interesting because if the first plenera was a woman, this thing happens. And I know this to be true because the usually in folkloric styles around around Puerto Rico specifically, but also in the rest of the Caribbean, the women are they just do the singing or they do the dancing or they do, but not really the drumming. That has changed a lot in the last, let's say, 10, 15 years to be kind of exact.
I love the story that you brought up, because I showed this book, Los Bembeteros de la Plena Puertorriqueña. It's from an anthropologist, Ramon Lopez, who transformed his energy and is with us in another state right now. But he talks about how women have been drummers, specifically frame drummers, for centuries, and how that is connected to spiritual practices, and how when imperios, how empires. I don't know. Empires that were had religions of one god, a masculine figure, or I don't know the term monoteísta in English, but so those empires that believed in just one god, this masculine figure, would invade these other empires and remove women from these spiritual practices, specifically the playing of the drums. So it turns into a masculine role, but in its origins, it was female. So when the book talks about this story specifically, the figure of Carola Clark, this first plenera, a woman to play plena in Puerto Rico, she was a Black woman from these sister islands that you were talking about, and that breaks all of the current, ¿cómo se dice? How we see women in plena nowadays.
Definitely.
Yeah, the preconceptions, exactly.
It's so interesting because in the Arab world, where the daf and these frame drums are played, women are also some of the baddest drummers, and definitely there is. As with all drums, there is a spiritual connection. In the case of Puerto Rican style plena, when it started, as we've seen, it started with just one drum, and the entire rhythm would be done with just one drum. Then, as it evolved, it became something of a trilogy, which is something that is constant in the drumming traditions in all throughout America. The trio, three batas, three tumbadoras for rumba, three barriles for bomba. So same thing happened with plena. First it was one drum, then two drums. Now it's three drums, three drum parts. Right, I would have to say. So when you did this first protest, these songs that you were singing were songs that you already knew? Were you just banging your drum to get the energy going, or were you already inspiring new songs right off the bat? How did this come out?
Both things. I was accompanying people who would chant with their megaphones different consignas, what we call, they're like short verses, but they don't necessarily have a melody to them, so it's easier for people to chant. So I was joining with my pandero and other men who were playing, but I also composed songs for what was going on. One of the first songs that I composed talked about how we should go on strike and stop, stop what's going on. The title was Paraliza, so the chorus would instigate that kind of manifestation, that kind of protest, because of what was going on in the university. So yeah, I started composing. I wanted there to be full songs about the things that were going on, not just chants. So I would compose both of those things. Then the same thing happened for when I was seeing that Puerto Rico, the government of Puerto Rico was allowing the deposit of toxic ashes in Peñuelas. Yes. And that was something that inspired me, because there was a camp of people protesting that, sleeping there, like stopping the trucks with the coal ash. And I wrote a song for that, saying that if the ashes aren't really toxic, then why don't they throw them in the governor's mansion instead of in the poor communities of the south of Puerto Rico. So yeah, I caught up very, very early on that those two things, plena and protest, and went together for me.
Yes.
And my musical inspiration and composition.
Yeah, so in other words, your Plena contribution, you think that Plena really is, like we said, the rhythm of the revolution. It is a revolutionary tool, right?
Yes, definitely. Because its origins aren't just like here in Puerto Rico, most people only think of Plena as a means to celebrate. But from its origins, from its working class people, like Black communities in barriadas or what like project equivalents here in Puerto Rico were, they were also not just for celebrating, but also ways to protest the labor injustices and other things that were going on. So in a certain way, in Plena Combativa, we are recuperating drums that are part of women's heritage in music, and we're also recuperating the way that Plena was used to protest in its beginnings. So we try to combine those things.
Right. So in a tradition that has been male oriented, and definitely we live in the Caribbean. The Caribbean is really misogynist. How is your work with your group being received? I know how it's received right now because you just blew everybody's brains out with this brand new album. Yeah, this thing is amazing. You can get it through her, or you can get it online too. So I know how it's being received now after a lot of struggle. I know it wasn't easy for you guys to actually say, "Hey, we're here. We're gonna do this." So how was that process for you and your crew?
Yeah. So in protest spaces, it is not common for men to have all the leadership roles. Like women are excluded from that. So that also translated to playing Plena drums in the protest, because there are certain standards that were established mainly by men that play Plena, which of how it's supposed to be played, and
Right.
the only acceptable ways for it to be played. And that makes it intimidating for people who are beginners in the genre to join in and to compare executions. For example, if you think about the requinto, which is the drum that improvises, you'll see that the people who get more applause in a Plena concert are the requinteros and requinteras that will hit the drum really hard or really fast. And you're not necessarily thinking about how the execution is accompanying the singer or the rest of the song, or where it's better to hit the drum. So for me, it's been about focusing on that, and obviously learning other techniques, which are also useful. But what I mean to say is that I've tried to separate myself from standards that have been set before and think about how I want to play and how Plena Combativa wants to play this kind of music. So how we've been received, there had been pleneros who have been very, ¿cómo se dice? Solidarios, have shown their solidarity with us and have shared their knowledge. And those are the people that we value, because, they're educators in that genre, and they don't exclude us specifically, but others have excluded us. They ignore us, or they say that we don't play well because they're thinking about their other standards, or they're intimidated because they feel like we're going to take their place, or there are a lot of manifestations of, or they say they're allowing us to enter the space.
Wow, that's
but the
crazy.
space has always been ours.
True.
Other things that would happen is that they catcall us, or they tell us, yeah, let's let the girls play. Oh, that was great for a girl, or for women. So those are the kind of dynamics that we fight against, and we try to, make this space more accessible to women. And the way we do that is mostly by women teaching women what they have learned, or women teaching queer people what they've learned to make it more accessible.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely see that. I get that. I know, you said, you mentioned Tito Matos, obviously one of the great Plena masters of the world, with vast knowledge. I noticed the first song in your album was written by Joe Medina. Can you talk to me a little bit about that experience? For those of you who don't know, Joe Medina is the true thing. He's the real stuff. This man is Plena, like, to its core. He's a griot. He is a storyteller. He makes up, songs in an instant, or whatever he's living. And he definitely has an open mind in what Plena's purpose is. So how was that experience to be next to him and learn from him?
Well, before I get into that, I want to also mention Emmanuel Santana was part of my individual formation as well. He gave me some classes and showed me some skills that I'm very grateful for. I also look up to him because of his singing in the genre is also something that I also practice and try to emulate and form my own thing around. But what?
That makes so much sense right now.
Right? He has some things that I feel I have incorporated into my style as well. So what else? Joe Medina, we met when we were practicing in La Perla. We went down to La Perla because we wanted to have a photo session there. One of our members, Laura Rocio, which commented right now, she was living in La Perla on that time. So we went there to take some photos for the group, and the compañera, the person that was helping us out with those photos, Isabel Cortisoto, shout out, she wanted us to play. She said, start playing so I can take some natural pictures of you guys in that element. So we start playing, and then we hear this person approach us, and it was Joe Medina. He had a beer in his hand and his hat on. So he showed up. He showed up, and he was like, he said hello. He asked who we were, and then immediately he starts singing this chorus. He improvised this chorus. Tengan cuidado, son explosivas, son la muchacha de Plena Combativa. He improvised this chorus with the name of our group in it, saying that Plena Combativa is explosive, like, watch out, because here they come. Immediately in front of us. So we recorded it, and we were so grateful. We later on decided to use that chorus, and I wrote some extra verses to it, and we turned it into our introduction song in this new album.
Yeah, I think that song is prophetic. He saw it. Because he's so real and he has no filters, he saw it and he prophesied what was going to happen. He knew you guys were going to kill it, and create some interesting dialogues that were much needed in these times. I gotta say, I am proud to have been shoulder to shoulder and elbow to elbow with Adriana and her tribe during protests, especially since summer 2019. And what I saw from your crew was something that we definitely needed in the movement, because I saw that pleneros during the protests were too worried about Plena and not mixing with other things. but what I saw from you and your crew was the opposite, and that opened a lot of people's eyes and woke up a lot of people up. So I am grateful. I thank you for that. So, uh, you know, being that Plena is this newspaper of the people, obviously a lot of the lyrics through time, through history, have had some kind of socio-political content. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of it is to condemn stuff or to uplift people, or to tell the stories that aren't told.
Yeah.
So in essence, Plena is truth.
I,
So
I find that very interesting, specifically that that thing you said about Plena being a type of newspaper is challenged a lot as well. It's debated because specifically because of the censorship that goes along in a newspaper format, and inclusive. How do I say this? In what's considered folklore. Is also something that is sometimes used by the state to carry an oppressive message. Yes. So it's very curious that debate goes on, that it might be more of a bembeteo, like this topics that come out in community, like coming together, and specifically what you just said, the truth of the people without the imposed filters of the state. So yeah, that's something that I really admire about this genre, and with all of its Afro-Boricua and Afro-Caribbean influence.
Yes. Have you encountered other manifestations similar to Plena that you know of, or you can talk about in your research in other parts?
Well, besides what I'm studying with you of, Afro-Cuban rumba, which I love and I'm starting to get into.
Which is good.
Thank you. Well, I've seen how Plena is combined with other rhythms, specifically the bata playing and other Afro-Cuban rhythms that are incorporated and make it very rich. So also patterns that seem like reggaeton.
Yes.
Are also incorporated. I know that Piquete, group of Neo-Plena and Bomba group with 3 women in the front line of the percussion, they also utilize that rhythm fusion, which is something that makes it really an amazing experience to listen to. So I think that it's mostly Latin and Afro-Cuban rhythms that I see being fusioned with Plena, and that I would love to get into further on. I don't know if you know of any.
In my research, I found some interesting stuff like Bomba Meu Boy from Brazil. They use these rather large panderetas and produce these rhythmic patterns that sound a little bit more like Yubá, which is interesting because you did that in your album.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're incorporating also some Bámbula rhythms into the Plena in this album.
Yes, that is true.
So there's this misconception also about these things, these manifestations. A lot of people call it Bomba y Plena, as it was one thing. When actually it's two completely different things from two different. It's like what we were talking with Dr. Pablo before about, Africa is not a country, it's a continent, multi-ethnical, super diverse. So obviously all these manifestations are going to vary. So we know that, yes, Bomba or Bámbula is the oldest music that's indigenous to Puerto Rico. So being that Plena is a newer genre, it's very kind of recent genre, like 20th century, right?
Exactly, 1920.
Yes,
Basically.
As we know it.
Exactly.
Because I think that drum came here in the ships. You know, when the first ships landed here, the European ships. By the way, those weren't the first people that came to America. You know, we already had Africans coming. We had Asians. We had, you know, Phoenicians, all this stuff. But the colonizers, when they came, we know that, you know, the Spaniards were the ones that colonized, specifically the case of Puerto Rico. Those ships were not full of blue-eyed blonde guys. You know, they're most probably filled with North African people, especially because that time of conquest was right after Spain had become Spain, because it was Africa. You know, it was governed by the Moors until very recently, before the slave trade. So my estimation is that drum got here before, you know. But yes, it is a newer style, as we know it as Plena. How do you see it? How do you see the future of Plena play out?
Well, I think that more and more people are going to start playing this genre, but specifically more women. But before our group, you know, there were other groups formed of women playing Plena in Puerto Rico. It's just that we're the first one that were able to record. But I feel that more women will be present, more queer people will be present in the genre. And that's gonna make it very interesting, because we sing about our experiences or what's going around in the island. So I think it's gonna keep getting political. And that's something I really look forward to, because I think it is since it's something that Puerto Rican people have in their blood, or here in Puerto Rico, people listen to this kind of music and they usually feel compelled to it. It is the perfect way to transmit a powerful and necessary message. So I also think that it's going to keep fusioning with other genres.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Hey, friends, I just wanted to pop in and say we have about 12-ish minutes left. Did you want to talk about one of your songs or a couple of your songs?
Sure.
Because, you know, what you're talking about is obviously revolutionary, and you're doing it with what you have and what you're willing to learn. And
What'd you say, Beto?
Yeah, if I can, I want to one more question before we jump in.
And then I'll tell you, Alexandra, which songs I think we can play.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
So, being that you are part of the LGBTQ community, this is a community that has been obviously put down for many years in a system that is patriarchal and definitely machista, you know, misogynist, Caribbean, and so forth. And Plena traditionally has had that. There are even songs that are super misogynistic. How do you feel that it's uplifting your tribe?
Yeah, I think that as we've been saying, taking back something that was always ours is very empowering and sends a powerful message. Also, you know, not strictly sticking to the standards made by those misogynist men or people is one of those ways that we make it more accessible to minorities or oppressed communities. Yes. And also by making sure that our lyrics reflect our experiences or our claims. We say that our music is about transgressions because we're going to call out oppressors and oppressive systems, specifically patriarchy and misogyny, but also racism, colonialism, neoliberal capitalism, the binary where we're told that people are only men and only women, and we exclude non-binary and other gender identities. Also this heteronormative system where we think that everyone is heterosexual, or we only validate those sexual orientations. Well, we talk about all of those things. And I think that is a way that we can send a clear message that Plena is for todos, for everybody, independently of those things. So that's very important to us.
Yes, I think to me, the most successful side of your project is that you don't just condemn, but you offer a solution.
Yeah, of course.
And usually that doesn't happen. Usually people just, bitch about stuff, but don't offer a solution. And to me, the thing that I cherish most about your album is that it does offer solutions. It does offer other points of view. It makes people really dig deep and think of ways to open their minds and their souls to diversity, and that's what this whole event is about. Being Bámbula, this connection. So definitely this connection is very important. So yeah, Alexandra, if you want to jump in for the music, I do want people to see these amazing women perform. So just like Paula, we're gonna have a video of a recorded performance.
I'm sorry, I was gonna tell Alexandra if maybe she can look up Cuanto Más, which is the song that talks about the criminalization of a Black girl from the public school system. That would be on minute, let me see.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Minute 18, exactly. So when our current governor, Juan Vázquez, was the Secretary of Justice in Puerto Rico, I'm not sure if that was 2017, I have to check the year, there was a bullying situation in a public school where a Black girl from the special education program was being bullied, had a lot of racist attacks against her. And instead of resolving this situation in the school with the correct, in a correct way, she was taken to court. This Black girl from the public school system was taken to court by orders of the Secretary of Justice, which is now Governor Juan Vázquez. So this is a horrible example of institutionalized racism. And we were present in the protests that were being held outside of the courtrooms. And we decided I wrote this song for that event, and Plena Combativa turned it into part of its repertoire. So I want to give a shout out to the other members of Plena Combativa before we hear this song very quickly. We have Margarita Morales Marrero, she plays the guiro. We have Lourdes Torres Santos, punteador, the middle plena drum. And Laura Luz Cintrión Carrión also plays punteador, the middle plena drum. And we have Angeli Gonzalez Jorge on the seguidor. It's the biggest drum that has the lowest tuning. And Laura Freites Rodriguez, which is also playing that drum. So there's 6 of us, and I hope you guys enjoy the song. We will comment a little bit about it.
Oh, no sound. We got sound? No.
Yeah, I think we don't. The chorus says, "Cuánto más, cuánto más, cuánto más vamos a aguantar? How much more are we going to tolerate?" Is basically what we're going to be singing in that chorus. Yeah, but I still can't hear it. Let's see.
Yeah,
So the guy that you guys see there to the right, he's Malacara. He's an MC. He is from Santurce and Carolina, and he is also very political with his urban and rap music. And we invited him to collaborate in this song. There we go.
Sistema racista, sistema imperial, no juegues con las niñas, sales al tribunal. ¿Cuánto más, cuánto más, cuánto más vamos a aguantar? ¿Cuánto más, cuánto más, cuánto más vamos a aguantar? Sistema clasista, sistema imperial, libera de tu garras a nuestra alma ya. ¿Cuánto más, cuánto más, cuánto más?
Made it really fast for him to rap on.
¿Cuánto más, cuánto más, cuánto más vamos a aguantar?
Que si el racismo existe, te digo que no siga el plantel escolar y alma que resiste. Por los años corridos la suelen bullear, el guardia que no sirve. Me pregunto dónde estaba aquí el trabajador social, el director de mierda, no voy a mencionar. Por favor, alguien define el racismo institucional, que me lo va a negar, que me va a refutar. Porque metió la cuchara aquí en el sistema judicial. Y no fue para ayudar, sino para el judicial. O te va a hacer el loco y va a volver a pichar. Aquí Yemayá firme en su amor maternal. Gigante Carolina, mi alma son castas. Y más por su cachorra, claro, va a luchar. Desde aquí te preguntamos cuánto más, cuánto más, cuánto más, cuánto más.
¿Cuánto más? ¿Cuánto más vamos a aguantar? ¿Cuánto más? ¿Cuánto más? ¿Cuánto más vamos a aguantar? Como alma y mucha nos toca ya actuar. Respuesta antirracista al racismo colonial. ¿Cuánto más?
Saying that it's also racist colonialism in that last verse. And now you guys are going to hear the Yubá, Bámbula being played at the end. Let's see.
¿Cuánto más? ¿Cuánto más? ¿Cuánto más vamos a aguantar? ¿Cuánto más? ¿Cuánto más? ¿Cuánto más vamos a aguantar?
I wanna point out really quickly that that specific rhythm, Yubá, which we decided to incorporate, and Beto can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's one of the rhythms that is like a war rhythm, you know, and that was very important for us to pick that one specifically for this song and this topic.
Yeah, definitely. The Yubá is our war drum. So yeah, it's definitely fit for that song. That's really beautiful. And because the skin on the panderetas is goat skin, it's very similar sound to what the barriles or the bulas do. Yeah. So wanna do another song?
Sure. I'm thinking we could do. Depends on how political you want to get.
All the way.
All the way. Let's do Cerro Maravilla, which is minute 31:44. So this song talks about two independent. What is this called? Independentista, like radical activists for the freedom of Puerto Rico. Yeah, yes. From the United States. So I believe it was the year 1978. Two of these activists were murdered and tortured on a mountaintop we call Cerro Maravilla. I think that's on Adjuntas. I'm not very sure. I think it's in Adjuntas, the municipality. Well, they were murdered, and investigations basically showed that the governor of Puerto Rico of the PNP party was responsible.
Pro-statehood party. Yeah.
Exactly. So this was a horrible, like, terrorist act that happened nationally, and this is what the song is about. So you can listen to it.
Con ustedes, Cerro Maravilla.
¿Cómo criticas el terrorismo si terrorista tú eres? Romero, Barceló, dos compañeros no debes. ¿Cómo criticas el terrorismo si terrorista tú eres? Romero, Barceló, dos compañeros no debes. Con tu guardia los provocaste, hay evidencia. En Cerro Maravilla los fusilaste, queda grabado en nuestra conciencia. Como criticas el terror.
So what this chorus is saying is how dare you criticize terrorism or accuse activists of terrorism if you were the biggest terrorist and we named the governor. So it's a very
Romero, Barceló, los compañeros no debes. Después de estos eventos, no cabe duda que el gobierno mata a los que luchan, jamás te ayuda. Como criticas el terrorismo.
So I don't know if you guys can tell that Plena is basically one rhythm. We're constantly listening to the doom, right? And then we can fusion it with other rhythms like we did in the song. He did the intro of this song to sound like the gunshots that killed. So that was what inspired us.
Pero son los primeros en zumbarte a la policía para masacrar la resistencia. El terrorismo, si terrorista tú eres.
That last verse said that politicians criticize violence, but they're the first one to use it when they send police to hit protesters or end protests violently.
Dímelo otra vez. Los compañeros no te ven. Como criticas el terrorismo si terrorista tú eres. Romero, Barceló, dos compañeros no te ves.
Dedicada a la memoria de Carlos Enrique Soto Arribí y Arnaldo Darío Rosado Torres, que no queden impunes.
The names of both of the activists that were murdered.
To me, what is very interesting about this song is that was in 1978 when this thing happened. I was 7 years old. I do remember that. Adriana wasn't even a thought, but the impact that situation had on the island's DNA, on the island's conscience, is still alive. And as a matter of fact, the Romero Barceló is still alive, which is insane, to us. And not only alive, he's still active, being like what do you call it? Like he helps the government, and he's got all the privileges, and he's really a criminal. So yeah, what Plena Combativa does is very needed in these times. During the summer of 2019, that's where I really met these women and really understood what they were all about. Now I'm proud to be Adriana's teacher, but most to be an equal. When we go to the streets to protest, if I see Adriana there, I got backup. And we will keep fighting elbow to elbow and shoulder to shoulder until we reach a real community of equality, understanding, and definitely that is what gives us power as a people. So I'm very grateful to have met you, Adriana, and I'm super hopeful for your future as a political force in our musical history. And not only you, but your entire crew. Massive respect to each and every one of your, everybody in Plena Combativa. When I mean everybody, is all the musicians, all your supporters, all your partners. Because I know it's not easy for to have a partner that is that the drum calls you and you have to go. So thank you for being true, for being honest, and that's something that we've been talking about all day long. Honesty, that's the only way. Yeah. So we got any more time, Alessandra, or we said?
We don't have any more time, but I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you
so much.
This word is coming up for me, and that's like the story medicine and telling the truth about what happened. One story that Dima has really quickly is that when a murderous genocidal regime came in to take over the capital, they painted over all the murals that told the stories. And so any way we can tell stories, any way we, conceptually, what you're doing is simply telling the story. What is simple acts that people can understand conceptually to tell the story of what happened. And I really appreciate that story medicine. I appreciate that lesson for all of us is to find a way to, and when we infuse it with music, it continues to become this sort of like eternal thing. And so I really appreciate you sharing your process and sharing this simple concept of speaking the truth. You're truth speakers and doing it in a way that's also in union with the creativity that feeds you. So I really appreciate that. And thank you for being here. And thank you for all the guests that came, all of our new family, our old family returning. This has been such an amazing chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. You can look us up, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're happy to answer any questions you guys have. We're still working on international shipping, but if you're in Puerto Rico or the US, you can order our album at plenacombativa.com. So thank you guys so much for the support. And if you're not in the US, you can find it on all digital platforms. So we're happy to share that with you guys.
We posted it, and here at Africa Week, we do try to inspire everybody to support our artists, support our families. So we did post those links, and we will post them again. I'll post it again right here. Blessings to you all. Thank you for being here. Some quick housekeeping. Thank you. Some quick housekeeping. Remember when we start a new feed to just press refresh, because that way you'll get the new feed on your Facebook. And also, friends, this is a labor of love. Share. Share, lift up Plena Combativa's voice. Share, help people find Africa Week 2020. And also, this is participant driven. If you have a story, if you have some business, some industry where you are helping make bridges with our family everywhere and providing solutions for the advancement of our people, then please stay in touch with Africa Week 2020. Go to our website, africaweek2020.com, and let's get these stories online. Let's start doing these interviews. Let's start doing these panels. We want you there. All of you.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm going to go get a new link.
Yes.
Okay. Bye.
See you in a bit.